This is my best kind of show notes because we didn't touch one of them, not even one of them. I'm not sure which one is Paul Rudd and which one is Lane Green.
Final card here is the ultimate outcome.
Today is Take Your Dog to Work Day.
Oh, like Scooby-Doo.
Without further ado, his debut.
Sweet Caroline.
Everybody say hello to Sammy. Is it not good?
I'm just pausing so that you just are at the front of your screen.
I'm so enormously flattered.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of this.
No, this is agape. This is love.
I really enjoyed this. You did do your homework. You asked great questions.
I'm flattered. Thank you. You just made my day.
Look at you! You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're
how
insane.
Did I do that?
You're insane.
Well, Keith Reynold Jennings is sitting in the green room and he's smiling. He liked the intro, which makes me smile. You picked up your friend Mark Schaefer's voice at the end when he said that he wanted to be, not in this clip, but one of the great clips when he came on the first time was this idea of he wants to be a laptop sticker. I mean, that's when you know you've arrived in life, when you've become a laptop sticker. Now, with his book Cumulative Advantage, he is a laptop sticker because he has produced the laptop sticker. Well, welcome everybody. I have the magic 8-ball behind me. Why do I have the magic 8-ball? You will find out soon enough. But let's get into the show. Yesterday was International Women's Day. It was a happy International Women's Day, except for Burger King UK. And quite interestingly and ironically, today is National Get Over It Day. I'm not sure that they're getting over it because it's also International Panic Day. I guess the idea is not to panic, but I have a feeling a lot of people are, in fact, panicking over at the king's throne, the monarchy, the brand monarchy. And I am going to touch on this a little bit and follow up in my seated soliloquy today. I am going to follow up with this, crazy story. I mean, who knew, right? Who would have thought? I did. I thought it was pretty obvious that the tweet would get pulled. And I'm definitely going to comment on that and keep the conversation going because, the beautiful thing about this is it is a live case study unfolding in front of our very eyes, we just get to comment on it and actually experience it and even interact with it as it's happening, even influence the case study, good, bad, or ugly. So a little bit of an update. I am thrilled. We've had a number of small changes this week, but tomorrow you're going to meet Mahesh Valanki. Mahesh is one of the co-founders of Rally.io. Rally is the company that has brought out and made this commitment to creator coins. There is mine, the creator coin, and you'll find out firsthand everything you wanted to know, maybe about crypto, but more importantly about this vision. And decide for yourself. For those of you that are experiencing and figuring things out, you can actually visit rally.io/creator/JAFFE and see the JAFFE coin and the beginnings of what has become or is becoming the JAFFE economy, all things JAFFE all the time. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but you know what? You got me, you're stuck with me, you're just gonna have to live with me. And then on Thursday, Julia McCoy is coming in, special time of 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Julia, like Lisa Cohn, grew up and escaped a cult. And we're going to find out about that story and also what she's up to right now, which is very unculty, I might add. So that's a good thing, I think. And then on Friday, Christina Di Giacomo, Trisha Ben, David Ormano and Brian Kramer in the Corona House. But today, you don't have to focus on anyone but Keith Reynold Jennings, VP Community Impact at Jackson Healthcare. Never before has a man with a title been so completely different to what the things we're going to be talking about. I was like, wait a second, Jackson Healthcare? We're not talking about healthcare, I don't think. We're talking about the meaning of life. This sounds like a Monty Python skit, but I assure you it is not, and I cannot wait to welcome him. Let's do some birthdays. Not too many people. There's the wonderful Chris Moody. There is Mark Wasberg, Chip York, and then a little bit more people, Carl Doty, Jim Will, Vijay Krishna, Christopher Austin, and Nile Aurora Mit Yadav on LinkedIn. Hope you guys are having a great, great day, a great birthday. It's almost coming up on 1 year of doing this, which is kind of insane. But I will keep wishing you birthdays, happy birthdays, as long as you continue to enjoy being wished happy birthday. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Seated Soliloquy today is going to continue the thread of yesterday, the thread associated with this insane tweet from Burger King. This is actually what you're looking at, and I'll talk about it in a moment. The Instagram post associated with the same tweet. So let's do a quick recap for you. Yesterday was a crazy day, as we literally got to live a live case study in the making. When Burger King UK posted the fateful tweet, "Women belong in the kitchen," at 9 a.m. UK time, 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll bet you they had no idea of the tweet storm that was to follow. Or did they? I dedicated yesterday's soliloquy to the unfolding drama. I called it Overcome with Dumb and discussed it throughout the day on both my show and many times in Clubhouse. All the while, I predicted the tweet would be pulled. This while Burger King doubled down and pushed back against the deafening backlash. After about 16 hours of self-inflicted pain, they pulled the tweet. But wait, they shifted the blame. We decided to delete the original tweet after our apology. It was brought to our attention that there were abusive comments in the thread, and we don't want to leave the space open for that. By the way, they were abusive towards you. But regardless, how magnanimous of them. Here are some of the additional threads of conversation that I unraveled from yesterday. Burger King knew exactly what they were doing, and they planned for this. There's no way they will remove the tweet. Where's your sense of humor? This won't affect sales. The real losers are the women this program was intended for. The big winner is Twitter, as we haven't been talking about them since you know who got banned. This was actually a print ad, as evidenced on Instagram, and FYI, it still hasn't been pulled. The Burger King board is all male, allegedly. The brand is called Burger King. So what should they have done? To quote at KFC Gaming on Twitter, the best time to delete this post was immediately after posting it. The second best time is now. I would have loved them to have launched this initiative in Clubhouse with a panel of women, and in particular female chefs, who have benefited already from Burger King's commitment to change the gender ratio in the restaurant industry. They still could, I suppose, but I would keep hand raising off. Or maybe it's time to change their name to Burger Queen, but they might get pushback from dairy. Personally, I want to give a big thank you to all those at Burger King for giving us a teachable moment. I'm giving my students at West Virginia University a pop-up class on this tomorrow. You took one for the team, and you got flame grilled for your initial mistake and then broiled for your stubbornness and arrogance. Order up! And that, my friends, is not a rap. That is a rapper. So just before we continue, as I was mentioning earlier, maybe they should change their name to Burger Queen. So today's episode brought to you by Burger Queen. There you go. And we'll keep that logo up for just a while longer. Not Dairy Queen, not Burger King, but Burger Queen. It's time to make the change, no doubt. But now we get to talk about change as opposed to making the change. We get to welcome Keith Reynold Jennings. Keith is an executive and writer working to bring lift to the work lives of others. I mean, I love that. Bring lift to the work. What is lift? What is elevation? We will hear. As an executive, he serves as vice president of community impact for Jackson Healthcare in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2020, Jackson impacted the lives of over 100 million people around the world through its COVID surge staffing program, a network of over 300 nonprofit partners. Well done. Amazing work. Keith helped launch Go Beyond Profit, a statewide initiative with a mission to increase the generosity of businesses in Georgia. As a writer, he helps professionals cultivate a deeper understanding of who they are and why they do the work they do, their values, principles, and purpose. He writes a monthly column for Mark Schaefer's blog, Grow, as well as a monthly newsletter called Root Notes. And I have to thank my friend Mark Schaefer for making this introduction. So let's welcome him on the show, Mr. Keith Reynold Jennings. Welcome to Corona TV.
I'm loving this. So far, I'm loving this show so much. But here's what we have to say. So you started with Mark's goal is to become a laptop sticker. I think that's phase one. I think phase two is tattoo. So I think we need to have a twofold personal branding play. We'll get with Mark on this to verify it. But we're going to go for tattoo, Joseph. You will ultimately, we'll judge you in a year, see if you are a tattoo on somebody in the marketing world. Let's do it.
So I didn't know whether I was going to get the Mark Schaefer tattoo on my body or whether someone was going to get a JAFFE. What about it could be a JAFFE coin on their body, or maybe just a Burger Queen logo. We you know, we never know. But I like that. So you have upgraded from a laptop sticker to a tattoo. So Mark Schaefer, we see your laptop sticker and we raise you two tattoos for the price of
go big or go home, right?
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome to the show. I saw you smiling in the background, and that made me happy. Tom Morris is watching on YouTube. He said he's meaningfully present. I said to Keith, you're going to love Tom. Tom, you're going to love Keith, because you both have these strange, weird accents, and you're both quite nice and smart as well. So it sounds like a good formula to me.
I love it. I'm so excited to meet Tom, and I see Evelyn Starr here as well. She's just a dear friend and just a brilliant marketing mind. Have you had Evelyn on your show?
I haven't, but Evelyn and I have been talking. Evelyn, you just got an invite on the show this is the referral network.
She's got a new book coming out, and she definitely deserves to be on this, 100%. She's
but hang on a second. I did tell her the price of admission now as a guest is a tattoo or a laptop sticker. All right, so there are many faces to Keith Reynold Jennings, and I found three of them. These are the three that I found.
Oh
yeah. So I'm trying to work out. They're very different. They're very different looks, I gotta say.
This is it. So the guy on the right with the kind of the collared sweater thing going on, that's content. That's a head of content marketing Keith from a lot of years ago. And the middle Keith is the super happy, relaxed Keith in the west of Ireland. And the Keith on the right, as I'm looking at it, that is current. That is 2 years ago, Keith as head of community impact. So, and in all three pictures, you can tell I hate getting my picture taken.
And that's current Keith. This is current Keith at the moment. But I like it. I mean, I feel like the middle photograph, it's almost like when in Rome, right?
That's it. Well, that's normally me. That's me at home. You know, I'm more of a, hiking clothes and outdoorsy kind of guy.
All right. So now there is more fun when it comes to you, because now we get to the section of the show that I call Fun Facts. And we found out our sleuths, our investigators, were able to go deep into your into your past using the magic 8 ball, no less. And here's what we found, speaking of which, you really have a little bit of a fascination with the number 8. So I would love to hear why, and I would love to hear at least one fun story related to this in your life.
Excellent. So the place to start is the number 8 is the luckiest number in Chinese culture. And so my wife and I were married on August 8th, which is 8/8. Our first child, our first son, was born on August 8th, 8/8. We had 2 biological sons, and we just felt called to adopt. And we had always, wanted to be adoptive parents. So during the Beijing Olympics, which started on 8/8 of 2008, so 8/8 of 2008, wow, we started the adoption process. And our first daughter joined our family on March 8th, so that's 3/8. So yesterday was her gotcha day. We had a big celebration yesterday. My office here at Jackson Healthcare is located on the 8th floor. I could go on and on and on. The number 8 just keeps showing up in my life. So that's kind of a quick story, as well as how that number just has some cool, deep meaning for me.
And very importantly, you were guest number 888 on Corona TV. So I'm going to...
I learned, here's a cool story. I didn't know this, but when we were over in China, we learned that people pay big money to get number 8 on their auto license plates. So like the more 8s you've got and I don't know if this is still true, but this was back around 2010 to 2012 range. But yeah, like if you see a car's going with the number 8 or multiple 8s, you know that they're pretty well off, doing pretty well.
So this is not paper play. This is paper 8.
Paid for 8.
Now, funnily enough, Tom said he wrote 8 novels in one series. So there you go. He's trying to jump on the 8 wagon. Stephen is, I guess Stephen's just thinking about tattoos right now. It's funny because my previous company was called Evolution. And what I decided to do, because you couldn't really get the URL Evolution, because some Darwin guy apparently had bought the domain on GoDaddy or something.
I'm not familiar with that. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided, well, what if I would spell it evolution, like evolution, phonetically OO, and then I was like, wait a second, what if we made it into a nice infinity sign? Because, I'm very big into marketing is not a campaign. It is a commitment. There should be no end dates in marketing. But you can't type the infinity sign. So I turned it on its head, or turned on its side, I should say. And evolution was spelled EVOL 8 TION. Now, I thought that was great because don't get stuck behind the 8 ball, like the magic 8.
Right.
Until we literally had a spreadsheet with about 37 ways people butchered the name. They called us Evolution, Revelation, Evolution 8, Evolution 8.
You were like a new church before you even knew it, right? You had a new church started.
The Church of Elevation as well. I mean, but that's what you do, right? That's in your bio. You help people rise up. You help people elevate with an 8. Do you not?
That's it. No, 100%. Like here at Jackson Healthcare, in the corporate world, in the business world, it's called corporate social responsibility or CSR. Great stuff. Has a very wild past. As a matter of fact, I've been studying the history of it. And I'm looking forward to finding ways of kind of telling that story in some way in the future. But so when we kind of started, this is Jackson Healthcare, for over 20 years has been an extremely generous company with just generous people. You just feel it when you're here on campus and when you meet people, and people kind of mention it and talk about it all the time. But we thought about everything we do, we want to improve lives. And our number one value, so we have 3 core values. Our number one value is others first. We always tell people that doesn't mean others only. It just means others first, that you should start with seeing the world through the other person's eyes. You should first try to, as best you can, stand in their shoes. before you draw an opinion, before you give advice, before you think you know what's best or anything like that. So as we created, we wanted to kind of formalize and build a strategy, around how do we scale up the impact we're having in a positive way and hold ourselves accountable as well. We didn't want to kind of consciously use that CSR title because we were like, we're not really about the reason we do what we do is not out of responsibility or obligation. We do it because out of a care for human beings and other people, and that we just want to serve and help and improve and bring lifts. So we actually call our community impact work here at Jackson Healthcare Love Lifts. So if you're on campus, you would never hear us talk about community impact. We use the word love lifts. And we use that as a phrase, that love lifts, that if we start with the other person, understand their situation, and find solutions that protect the dignity of the individual, as well as, kind of help them help them have the tools, resources, education, competence, support, and everything they need to make the decisions they want to make and be able to have their best shot at growth and improvement. That's what we want to do. We don't want to create kind of dependency, or we kind of call it responsible generosity, right? We want to be generous, but we want to do it in a responsible way. And we're still learning, every year we get hopefully wiser and smarter at how we do it. But this is a long game. This isn't something, that it wasn't built overnight. And in everything we do, one of our other core values is wisdom, Joseph. So we always say we're rarely facing right versus wrong decisions in our lives. I mean, when we are, those are pretty easy, hopefully, to kind of distinguish. You say, well, what's the right thing to do? Well, we should do that. In most of our life circumstances, we're facing two rights, right? We're facing two situations that have pros and cons that come with them. So we always say the question we should ask is, what's the wise thing to do? So meaning, when I think about 5 or 10 years from now, and I look back on, this time and the decisions we made, what will be the decision we'll be most proud that we made? And that's the wise thing to do. And so that's kind of how our values kind of feed into our principles, and those principles guide our plan, our processes, and the way we do business.
So I'm thinking I'm going to just end the show right now because this is a George Costanza moment, right? I'm out. Thank you. Everyone's laughed at the joke, like George. That was gold, Jerry. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Well, that's not me. It's Rick Jackson and Shane Jackson.
I had to process. I shook the 8 ball, and the 8 ball said end the show now. You hit it. You swung for the no. I mean, listen, amazing stuff. Let me go back to what you said. First of all, in Built to Suck, I introduced one of my pillars. I called it corporate citizenship. I was inspired by global citizen, and I thought to myself, well, if global, if Hugh Evans, who started Global Citizen, and if he's looking to eradicate poverty by 2030, if you can be a global citizen, then why can a corporation not be a global citizen? What does that mean? And it's not really global because, corporations are just, you just naturally are, whether you're local, regional, etc. Global didn't sound like the right word. So I just said, well, what is a corporate citizenship? Being a public citizen, providing a public service. I didn't, I'd never until just now heard about that corporate, that brilliant idea that in corporate social responsibility, it shouldn't be looked at as a burden, as an obligation. Right. And I love how you turned it on its head. Responsible generosity. That's right. Different to a responsibility. So that was awesome. And then, I think Tom Morris might have some competition from the new philosopher, Keith Reynold Jennings. But what a brilliant concept as well about this idea that it's not between right and wrong, it's between two rights. And your rubric, right? Your rubric is looking back, being able to say, what will we be most proud? If you applied that lens,
right.
You think Burger King would have been proud to be able to?
That's it. I was thinking of that when you were doing that. What do you call it? The soliloquy? What did you call it? Yeah. When I was listening to you say that, I'm thinking, God, that question would have been such a great guide. We look back and be proud that we put this out in the world. I don't see how you could get to a yes on that, right? I don't know. I mean, such a poor decision.
You would struggle to get to yes with that. Well, maybe what we need ultimately in life is, and certainly in terms of whether it's corporate ethics or even in terms of how we conduct ourselves personally, professionally, is essentially a new narrative. And speaking of which, how's that for a segue? I found out this about you as well, which is this is kind of cool stuff, right? Which is you're producing a new podcast, and I'm going to quote, that uses an Asian 4 movement narrative structure rather than the Western 3-act structure we're used to. I'm like, so what is the Western 3-act structure? What is the Asian 4 movement narrative structure? Tell us more.
Yeah, and the interesting question is why, Keith? Why? Why would you do this?
That's my follow-up.
Why not? And the answer to the why is that if you do the Enneagrams, I'm an Enneagram 4, and on the Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFJ. And it's almost like there's some wiring in me that says, if everybody's doing this, then I've got to go. I've got to do that just to see what I can figure out and learn. So yes. So, the typical, the Western 3-act structure we're all familiar with, act 1, hero protagonist is going along, everything's just fine. And then something happens. And then act 2, of course, is, protagonist, makes decisions, tries things, and things, spin out of control until they make an ultimate decision. And then act 3, everything is resolved, to the better or to the worse in the case of a tragedy. And so the so the Western, that 3-act structure is based on conflict and conflict resolution. And I just found my favorite movies, like Sofia Coppola movies, Wes Anderson movies, like, they're not built on conflict or conflict resolution. They're built on character development. They're situational. You're kind of hanging out with characters over the course of them doing something. And the more I started researching it, I found this structure. And I'm a poetry lover. I love poetry. And with 2 Chinese daughters, I really got into studying ancient Chinese and Korean and Japanese literature. And there's this structure called Kisho Tenketsu. I hope I'm saying that right, but I'll pretend I am. That's how with a Southern accent. That's probably what it is. That's
why I said Gesundheit.
A little off. but that word Kisho Tenketsu is the 4 acts. And it's kind of how haiku is built. So, a beautiful haiku poem, in just a few syllables, you're saying, here's this moment in nature. See how this is like human nature? And, the greatest haiku poems, in just a few syllables are kind of creating that aha moment for you to see that connection and kind of revealing that to you in kind of a source of enlightenment, kind of a moment of enlightenment. And I just love that. And so the Kisho Tenketsu, it's what's used in, ancient Asian poetry. It's also in manga, anime. A lot of the Asian storytelling structures are built on this. So when you play Mario Brothers, a lot of the even video games are built on the Kisho Tenketsu narrative model. And so the key is you orient. And so here's the character, here's the soldier on a battlefield, kind of in a war. And then the show is the deepening of the setting and orientation. So we're going to go with this soldier, into the battle, and we're going to learn more about this soldier. The 10 is a disorientation. So you orient, then you go deeper, then you disorient in the 10 piece in the third act. And you go off and maybe you see a woman and a child in a house and you're thinking, well, wait a minute, we've been with this soldier the whole time. What's going on over here in this house with this person? And then the ketsu, the fourth act, kind of harmonizes the pieces into this kind of aha or an enlightenment type moment where you're like, oh, this is the mom and the new child of the soldier. And now we understand what he's, what's keeping him alive. And I'm making this up as we're talking, by the way, but I just thought it would be,
book. I'm going to buy the book.
It would be so cool.
I want to know why.
On this, right? Every podcast, there are conversations, they're more transactional. The thing I love so much about what you're doing, I think the greatest conversations are co-creative, meaning they're not transactional. You're not swapping information. You're using topics as places to meet. And then both of you learn together kind of in the moment, and the audience can do that with you. And that's why I've been so excited to do your show and be a part of this. I feel like you're kind of taking an alternative approach to kind of the typical approaches. And that's kind of, I feel like people feel that. They feel the depth of it. There's no doubt people have gotten to know you better. As I've watched some past episodes, I feel like you and I could be friends. Like, I really feel like I get you in a way I wouldn't have gotten had I just heard you answer some questions on a typical podcast. So for me, it was the same thing. It's like, how do we take people's stories and find some sort of a metaphor to connect them to, and then see if there's a source of enlightenment that can come out of that. That's it. I was long-winded, but that's it.
No, it was beautiful. I mean, I was going to say what Zig Ziglar is, I guess, to sales. I'm going to call you Zag Ziglar. You're
I'm the Zag. That goes with my alternative thing, right? If everybody zigs, I have to zag.
You're Zag Zagler. I'm going to call you Zag Zagler. But there is, there's a lot of interesting stuff to kind of talk about there, and it's part of it is this jazz, this riffing, but part of it is this idea of let the conversation take us where it might. But that's not everyone. That that gives people agita. Just thinking about what if you clammed up in front of me? What if you what if you push back? But inherent in everything you said. And it gets back to empathy as well. You took the time to read up, to watch, to find out about me. You didn't show up and say, well, what do you got for me? What do you want to know? And so this conversation is as much a product of your generosity, because it is generosity. You're giving me your time now, but you gave more of your time in advance to show up. And not to show up, but show up prepared. And you would think that was a no-brainer, but how many people do that? What do they say? Marketing is common sense, but how many of us have common sense?
It's not because people are bad, or selfish or anything like that. It's just busyness, and we all, struggle with that. Is we just get busy, and we got a lot on us, and certain seasons we have a lot personally and professionally on us, and I just feel like. That just coupled with the cognitive biases we all fight every day, right? The blind spots and the myopia that we're not keen to. That's, it's almost like we've each in our own way, just like exercising and eating right. You almost have to make a habit of kind of getting outside yourself and just saying, how do I? The question is always, how do you contribute to this moment and this person in front of you? So, whether it's a email campaign, I always think it's a great question to say, how will this email contribute to the people, to the lives, the working lives of the people that receive it? Or how will this tweet or this post or this interview or whatever it is, how will it contribute? Because, who cares if, 1,000 people, kind of consume it and love it. I'm not interested in that. I'm not really interested in that at all. I'm interested in the one person who can take a nugget and add it to their toolbox and go do something with it, and pay it forward in a way, right? Improve contribute to others' lives through the thing they picked up. That, to me, the beauty of that too is that you and I will never see that. And so we don't have to, there's no big heads or ego involved, right? It's like we'll do our best to kind of contribute to one another as we talk. Hopefully that contributes to somebody listening. They can take that and then they can use that to contribute to someone else, and it has impact. You know, when we talk about what's your impact, that's the impact.
It's your process, right? And your process is uniquely yours. And for people that are watching this, we're having a conversation, but we're also having a conversation about conversation. And it applies on both levels. And I was thinking, you know, you said something that doesn't deserve just to be overlooked. You said, you know, we just get busy, but for some reason, we struggle to just share that even publicly. For example, a guest that let's use the example of being on the show. Imagine, and there are two parts to what I'm about to say. Imagine right now that you're overwhelmed with work or personal stuff, which you don't need to get into, and you don't know me, you've never met me, etc. And you feel like you can't come on the show and you can't be true to yourself in your process. Most people would not reach out and say, I don't think I can be on the show. I need to cancel my appearance. And because I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just too busy. You know, it's almost like, it almost sounds like an excuse, right? We just get busy. And it's true, you know, and maybe we overpromise and maybe we overcommit ourselves. But I just think like there's something so authentic to being able to actually be just to say, I'm overwhelmed at the moment. You know, I am not at my strongest. I'm not able to give you what you need and what I need. And I just feel like if we could just apply that little bit of those moments of just, you know, nakedness almost and honesty, we would all be better off in life and certainly professionally and personally.
So true. I mean, that's what Brene Brown preaches and talks about, right? But it's easy to hear, easy to say. It takes intention to do, for sure.
No doubt. Well, you know, you spoke earlier about this idea of, no, but the real question, Joseph, is why? But actually, that's not the real question. The real question, according to you, is not why, but it's start with who. So I would love you to talk a little bit about this first riff of yours. And as you're talking, I'm going to post the links to these wonderful articles from your newsletter in the comment thread. So talk a little bit about this idea of, you know, that Simon Sinek was half right when he said start with why.
Yes, and just I'm reading Tom and Leslie and the others' comments, and I love what you're putting in the comments. So I'm paying attention. I'll try to respond to things as we have time. Here's the riff. I'm going to assume at some point you've seen that super famous TED talk that Simon Sinek did, you know, where he talks about start with why. And in it, he says, you know, most businesses and leaders take a what, how, why approach to the communication. So here's what we sell. Here's how it works. Here's why you should buy it. And in that talk, he said the great leaders and the great brands flip. They reverse that order and they start with why. So, and he uses Apple in that talk as like an example of how one does that. So he said, you know, Apple would be like, we believe in challenging the status quo and thinking different. The way we do that is through beautifully designed products that are easy to use and user friendly. We just happen to sell computers. Want to buy one? And so me being me, being the zagger in a zig world, I thought, is that really what Apple did? I'm just curious. And even if they did do that, did they do it consciously or was it unconscious? And so I found this, you know, old grainy video, and some of you may have seen it. It's Steve Jobs, 1997, addressing the Apple employee base. And this is the talk where he said, to me, marketing is about values. And he goes on to say, you know, Apple's kind of lost its way. You only get a few chances to connect and make an impression with people. And so he said he set out to answer 2 questions upon his return. Who is Apple, and what does Apple stand for? And so when I heard that talk, it hit me. Jobs didn't start with their why. He started with their who. Their who is their values. Their who are their worldview and their principles. Their who frames and aims their why, which is their purpose. That why then frames and aims their how, which is their process. And that how then frames and aims their what, which are their products. And if you do that right, you can have a great chance of making an impact in people's lives. And so it just hit me. Well, Sinek's sort of right. You do start with why, but you actually start with who. That people, they want to know who you are and what you stand for and why you're doing what you do before they'll try or buy something. And, you know, we don't need to think much further than our own lives. If 2 people, somebody we have no clue who they are, we've never heard of them, is telling us something, or somebody we know is telling us something, we naturally are going to default to believing the person we know, whether it's a real relationship or a parasocial relationship. We just have this innate default to, if I know who you are, I like you, I trust you, okay, I'm actually I'll pay more attention and put weight to what you say. So I always say, you know, for whether you're a personal brand or a business brand or whatever, you need to be clear about who you are, what you stand for, and why you're doing what you're doing. And what's fascinating is, and I don't mean this in any kind of a negative, critical way or anything. Let me start with me. I couldn't do that for me. I knew I have a natural, I naturally get energy from generating ideas and encouraging people. And I seem to be somehow wired to do that. Something in me can like see through complexities and clutter pretty quick. And I can find really odd random connections that offer kind of guidance and solutions. And I see people get encouraged by that. That's where the word lift comes from. I see them kind of get a new breath of fresh air. And then I get so excited watching them take that and go off and do something better than I ever could with it, because I don't necessarily have that skill set that they have. So it kind of started with, I couldn't clearly articulate what my values were as a person. I couldn't articulate why I get up in the morning and do the work I do. And I thought, gosh, you know, that's problem one. I need to get clear on that. But I've found in having private conversations with CEOs, business leaders, founders, nonprofit leaders, independent consultants, contractors, agents, you name it. Most people are not conscious of what their values are.
I put this down. I put this down earlier. 24601. Does that number ring a bell?
24601. No, not currently.
I think I got it right. It's who am I? Who am I? I'm Jean Valjean. And so, JAFFE, you see, this man has no more guilt than you. Who am I? I'm 24601. That was his prisoner number from Les Mis. I think I got the number right.
Oh, yes.
But I think what you're talking about at the end of the day is identity. And there are 2 parts, right? There's identity, and then there's this concept of introspection. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror and like what you see, but able to look deeper. And I found, this is my quote of the episode for you, which is a little bit more esoteric. It said, I am a victim of introspection. And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I'm sure you probably do. So that was said by Sylvia Plath, an American poet, novelist, and short story writer. So first of all, there are 3 parts too. 1, identity, right, which is a precursor to being able to determine purpose, right? 2 is the ability to introspect. And 3, what does it mean when you become a victim of introspection? Pick any. Take a card.
Yeah.
Don't tell me which card. Put it back.
I mean, what's so fascinating isn't it ironic that marketers, the profession who is charged with understanding and communicating and signaling identity, are the professionals that most struggle with doing this themselves, for themselves, right? Like it's just so, it's ironic that we are trained in this. We can do it so well for others, yet we struggle, to get this kind of, bring this clarity of kind of thinking, and it's a commitment too, because you have to put a flag in the ground and say, this is what I stand for. And the real question, when it comes to core values, is almost what would I go to war over? What would I get in a fight over? What would I be willing to abandon anything about myself in order to stand for and stand up for and speak up for? Those are hard decisions, and the more of a privileged environment you brought up in, it's even harder, because you're blind to a lot of things others can see that you can't. So yeah, that's where good friends, good diverse, huge spectrum of friends.
Yeah,
one of the greatest blessings.
I mean, I see some. Evelyn basically said she thought it was just a random zip code, 24601. It probably is a zip code somewhere. We should find out where 24601. You've got the Jean Valjean of zip codes. And Tom says the recording of the show should be shot into space on a rocket to show any interested and currently discouraged aliens. Well, we are at our best. Well, or he could be saying this is so bad it needs to be
I was thinking that.
Earth. And never seen.
Blow it up.
Poor old Perseverance on Mars could be like, seriously, this is what I escaped Earth for, and now I've got this pod, this capsule with JAFFE and Reynold. But I don't know. That was just a little bit of fun. But let's go back to the subject at hand, identity, because the reality is that marketing and marketers are going through an identity crisis.
Agreed.
And so from that conversation, through the bridge of this identity crisis, links us to our next subject, which is the ability to actually realize that maybe it isn't just marketers and marketing going through an identity crisis, but very much business in general, and the business of business and the business model of business, and the ability for us to really look in the mirror once again, maybe not as individuals or executives, but on behalf of our brand, and say, wait a second, what business are we really in? So I would love for you to introduce this idea. We are moving at a rapid pace. We are the afterburners are kicking in, or whatever. Like, maybe that's the wrong analogy. Whatever. Just tell us.
You still got the space metaphor going. We're good. We're good.
It's Tom's fault.
I love it. So the idea here, this comes from a 1960 Harvard Business Review article by Theodore Levitt. Theodore Levitt. Odd that all the greatest early thinkers in marketing were economists. Have you ever thought about that? Think about Peter Drucker and Theodore Levitt, and go back and research. They weren't marketers. They were economists in many cases, and in some cases, engineers. So Levitt wrote this story, and he told the story of the railroads. So if you think back at the Gilded Age, you had steel with Carnegie, and you had oil with Rockefeller. You had the train, the national train system get built. You had shipping. And the owners of those pieces, were the titans. As you move into the 1900s, from the early 1900s till about 1950, railroads kind of exploded and then died as automobiles and air travel grew. And the beautiful thing Levitt points out is that we're all myopic, right? We all have this, we're all myopic to a certain extent. We can't see past the box we're in. And so we have to create tools or systems that kind of help challenge us and kind of help us break out of those blind spots in those boxes. And so he said the problem was the railroad titans at that time saw automobiles and the road system and air travel as competition because they thought they were in the railroad business. Had they thought they were in the transportation business, they would have seen the autos, the highway systems, air travel as new opportunities, and would have embraced it as transportation providers. And so he offers this question that he says all leaders should ask, which is, what business are we really in? And the deeper you go with that question, with yourself, with your team, with your business or your company, nonprofit, wherever it is you are, you find that it has a lot of layers to it. We're not, are marketers in the business of selling things to people? Or what business are marketers really in? That can be answered in so many ways. Am I in the community impact business? Yeah. Or am I in the business of bringing lift to people? Yes, that's actually the business I'm in. And now that I see that's the business I'm in. So every idea or opportunity that comes by me, I'm looking at it through the lens of, is this something that could bring lift to the people I work with and I serve here in our business? We've got over 1,500 associates. Is this something that could bring lift to them and their lives and their work day? And could this in turn bring lift to the lives of the nonprofit partners we have and the people they serve in the community? So once you can get out of the box of your title or your kind of descriptor of what you do, kind of the what, and you move over towards the who and the why questions of who you are and what drives you and what your purpose is. That question really opens up some beautiful conversations. I would recommend anybody listening on your next team call, just ask this question and ask it, start with it. Well, what business are we in as a business? And then flip it and reemphasize it and say, what business are we in as individuals? What business are you personally in? And let's get clarity on that. Let's work together, through 2021, maybe to get some clarity on that and get closer to what our bigger purpose is in life and what bigger contribution we think we can make.
But Keith, I'm confused. What does any of that have to do with socks?
Yeah. You're so good, Joseph. This is my favorite company. This is John's Crazy Socks. Here we go. This is my John's Crazy Socks mask. His motto in life is spreading happiness. So John was born with Down syndrome. I'd show you my socks right now, but we'd probably kick the table over. John was born with Down syndrome, but he's always said he would never let it hold him back. So as he was facing graduation from high school, he says to his dad he wants to go into business with him. So first idea John had for a business, he called it a fun store, but he and his dad couldn't figure out what a fun store was. They saw that movie Chef with, I forget who produced it. The guy does The Mandalorian and the Avengers movies. That movie Chef, about a father and son who do the food truck. And so he said, well, let's do a food truck. And the punchline is the one problem they had is they can't cook. So around Thanksgiving of 2016, John comes back to his father and says, I know what I want to do. I want to sell crazy socks. And he had worn crazy socks his whole life. He was known around his school and town as the guy with the crazy socks. And so they launched John's Crazy Socks with the mission of spreading happiness. And I could go on and on about them. Like over 50% of their workforce are people with differing abilities. They advocate on behalf of businesses hiring people with differing abilities. They go to Congress and they push for legislation around this. Over, I think, 30% of their profits go to nonprofits and causes and research that they care about. It just goes on and on. They are not in the sock business. And I was on Instagram after I fell in love with them, started buying up socks and stuff from John. I started getting these funny sock ads in my Instagram feed. And I'm like, oh, good Lord. Like, these companies think they're in the sock business. John's in the spreading happiness business. That's what business he's really in. And I'm all for a company that wants to spread some happiness. And so I'm not a customer of John's. I'm not raving to you about John because of the socks. I'm raving because of who he is and what he stands for and why he does what he does through socks. That goes back to where we started, which is that clarity of who and why.
It's a beautiful, beautiful connection back, right? Because you don't get to ask the question, you don't get to answer the question if you don't have the foundation, which and these solid values that then allows you to be able to expand and come up with a vision and a mission, a North Star, or maybe an 8-ball to follow. But that actually brings us to we're going to somehow get through it all, because I think it brings it back even to your mission and your Curly from City Slickers, the one question that changed your view of marketing forever. So bring us home with respect to a little riff on the late Clayton Christensen's job done framework and how you've used to use that as well to think about hospitals.
Yes. So you can use this for anything. So here's the idea. Fast food restaurants wants to sell more milkshakes. What do we marketers tend to do? Okay, let's analyze milkshake sales by day, by flavor. Let's interview customers over the course of some, days of the weeks and times of the months to look at seasonality and see what milkshakes they wish they had. And then we're going to build this great marketing campaign around new flavors of milkshakes and all the stuff we learned. And a fast food restaurant did do this, and they took that approach, and milkshake sales remained flat. So enter Clayton Christensen and his team, and they started their research into this problem with a fundamental question. And this question comes from, it's an extension of the what business are we really in question. This is where Christensen got this question from Levitt. And it's, what jobs are people hiring milkshakes to do in their lives? That was the question. And when I first read that, it just blew my mind. What they found was that there was a morning group of people who were hiring milkshakes for their commute to work. They found out it didn't give them greasy hands. It didn't get crumbs in their lap. They could consume it with one hand while driving. It lasted about 20 minutes. It tasted good. They weren't hiring a milkshake for health purposes. They were hiring it to get to work and then stave off hunger till lunch. And milkshakes, they found, were the only thing that did that best. They found an afternoon group of parents who were hiring milkshakes as yes moments with their kids after weeks of saying no to everything. And so, if you flip that question onto us, it applies to everything. What job are the people we're wanting to serve trying to get done in their lives? And a job comes with 3 layers. There's a functional aspect to the job, there's an emotional aspect to the job, and there's a social aspect to the job. So you could say, and I'm making this up as we go here, but like Folgers, right? Or Maxwell House back in the day, like my grandparents drank, that did a functional job. It's coffee. It's something you can consume in the morning, tastes okay, and it gives you a caffeine boost and gets you going. That was kind of the level it did that. Starbucks took it to a new level, as they burst onto the scene, because not only did they add to they completed the functional aspect of the job of a cup of coffee, but they really took the emotional aspect, the taste, the flavors, the smell of the cafe as you walked in. They really took the emotional job to a new level. And then, they nailed the social job, which is a gathering place for people to come sit and work and talk with each other. And that little logo on the cup signaled from me to you that, hey, we're in the same tribe here. Like we're the same kind of people. We could probably get along. And the more you can nail all 3 levels of those jobs, so if you can, and what you're doing, help people get the functional job done and help them get the emotional job done. Maybe that is, how do they get past selling this to their boss? And the social job done, what will this signal about them? Will this will this help them fit in and look good? Will this help them stand out and look good? You've got to start with the question, what job are people trying to get done, and what job are they hiring our product or service to do in their lives, or the competition, and why? So if you're doing, I always say, you're building a website, first question you ask, what job are we hiring this website to do for us? Got a landing page, what job are we hiring this landing page to do for us? Email campaign, what job are we hiring this email campaign to do? And you got to flip it, it's two-sided. What job are we hiring this to do for us? What job would the recipient be hiring this to do in their lives? And how are we connecting both of those and accomplishing both of those? That was a quick run through, but that is the gist of the question. So
talk very quickly in the, we have a few moments left. How did you apply that, or how was that applied to hospitals?
Gosh, it's so complex.
Or I tell you what, how about this? Should we leave people wanting more and take that into the Zoom after show? How about that? Should we do that?
Let's do that. I've got a great example of how we had an hospital awards program years back that was struggling. And when we applied this question, we hit a 3-year growth spurt. And I can talk through that. Would love to.
All right. Well, that is incentive enough for people to come to the Zoom after show. I have one more question to ask you, which is this week's Corona question. And I think it talks to values, it talks to purpose, it talks to identity. What is the one thing that you just can't stop doing, that you just think you just could not have to cease, and if you did, you would?
Nothing, Joseph. I'm kidding.
What? After all this?
Absolutely nothing.
The 8-ball says ask again later.
Here's the thing. The thing that I have had to find a metaphor for this. Most people open bananas from the stem, but bananas are made to be opened from the tip. When you open a banana from the tip, you don't smush and smash the thing. It opens every time impeccably. If you start others first, if you start with a banana, understand what the banana is and how it's made, and you work with it the way it is, everything's better for everybody. So I use that as a metaphor to say every person you interact with is a subject that can be infinitely discovered. They're not an object. So the thing I can't stop doing is I try, and it's hard. It's hard with certain people, and it's hard some days, but just I can't stop trying to see people, even if I have a very harsh reaction to them, to try to understand them as a subject and try to understand who are they, where'd they come from, why are they who they are, and I just try very hard to understand that and interact with people.
You can't give up. You can't give up.
I can't let go of that. That's the good way.
Tom says he can't stop enjoying this show.
Tom, please go to this. I cannot wait to meet Tom.
You're gonna meet him now, but before you go, this has been guest number 888, Keith Reynold Jennings, VP of Community Impact, not Corporate Social Responsibility at Jackson Healthcare. Here's what you need to know about Keith. You need to know that he has an incredible, look, you've just seen the newsletter. We don't have to talk about it. You've heard it.
That's it.
With your own 2 ears. I am going to make sure that people know all about this. You can copy that down, keithjennings.com/newsletter. I am pasting it as I have with all the other articles in the comment thread below. So Google can index it and juice it and share it with the rest of the world. You can contact Keith on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, anything else on your end, Keith? Otherwise, let's head on over to that Zoom after show.
Let's do it.
And if you've watched
this, thank you so much, Joseph, for the energy and the creativity you bring to this. This has been lifting to me. Thank you.
I am just what's the word?
I don't know.
Receptacle. I am a receptacle. I'm tongue-tied. I am the Zig to your Zagler. No,
there we go.
The energy that you bring, all I do is I absorb it and then I mirror it right back to you. And another person that feels the love and the energy is Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck
Norris approved.
There you go. Let's head on over to the Zoom after show.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at coronatv.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.